All right, everybody. It's free agency time. We're back with another episode to break it all down. And we have some breaking news, too. Big deal right after this. All right, fellas. Joey Bosa has made his decision. And it's not a West Coast. It's not a Niner. Steven and I were just talking a little bit. So he signed a 1-year deal worth $12.5 million with the Bills. And the Niners offered him 10. And I was wondering, like, man, Joey's made so much money in his career. Did that $2.5 million really, like, was that really the deciding factor? Or is he looking at the Bills like, I have a much better chance of winning a Super Bowl there? And those Niners, they're not doing anything free agency, so I don't know what they're up to. I'll just take the safer bet and go play with the Bills. What do you
Well,
think?
I saw that the Dolphins offered him 8 and that the Niners offered him less than 10. So maybe that's 9.5 or something like that. But that was how I saw it reported, was less than 10. Also, there's incentives in Joey's new deal. I believe it's 12 million guaranteed with incentives to go up to like 15.5. So there's the chance of making quite a bit more money. And yeah, why not go play with a contender? I wouldn't want to play on the sorry ass Niners or Dolphins. I'd want to go straddle up with Josh Allen, see if I can get me one.
It's funny how yesterday Jason just texted something about the Niners being a better team, and that's why he should pick them over the Dolphins. And now, one day later,
They're slightly
they're
less sorry. They're
ass.
slightly less sorry. And you know what? To be fair, yesterday they were a better team than they are today. So, in my defense,
That gap is closed.
Today?
huh?
Who did they lose today that made them?
They
so much
lost
worse?
Leonard Floyd. They
Okay.
lost who else? I don't know. I feel like they lost someone else I can't think of. They lost. They're out of.
Today, Leonard Floyd is the one that stands out. I mean, Hargrave and Juice, we already knew were getting cut, and everyone else was yesterday.
Yeah. Man, our roster's so barren. I don't even know what to think. I don't even know where to start.
Well, let's start with let's go through the list. I'll pull this up real quick. So I made a little note here of everyone. Outgoing, incoming, and retained. Why don't we just go down the list here? Let's start with Aaron Banks. 4 years, $77 million to the Packers. I mean, that's a severe overpay, right?
Well, what I was going to say was, as we talk about this, the question I want to know from you guys, because I know how I feel about all this, is would you want the Niners to pay that?
No.
So, I mean, but for each guy as we go through the list.
Okay.
So,
I like that question. And
Yeah.
yeah, not even close. I wouldn't have even paid Banks half of that, I don't think.
No.
so I actually like Banks and wouldn't have minded him sticking around, but there's no way that I would have wanted them to give him that contract.
Yeah, as a second round pick, he signed a 4-year deal worth like $5 to $7 million. So he's making $1.5 to $2 million a season. And to take that up to like almost 20 million, I think he's at 19.5 or something like that per season. And I saw someone post the rankings of the highest paid guards in the league, and he's number 6. Does anyone think he's a top 10 guard in the league? Is he even a top 10 left guard in the league? I don't.
Not in my opinion. And it's funny to see like the cope from fans on Twitter. I saw some guy tweeting out like, Aaron Banks has allowed 1 sack in the past 2 seasons.
Yeah.
How is he not a top guard? I'm like, ugh, you should watch the film, buddy.
Yeah, I think David Lombardi actually quote tweeted that, and he said, "This is a Brock Purdy stat."
Yeah, I saw that.
I was like, yeah, I think David's right on that one. That
Yeah.
just shows how good Brock is.
I could have swore I saw something about that he's given up he's pretty high on the list in terms of giving up pressures, but I'm not positive.
I think everyone on our offensive line last season was pretty high on the list of giving up pressures. Even Trent. Poor Brock was running for his life, it felt like, all year. So, yeah, without Brock, if Jimmy Garoppolo was still playing quarterback, that Aaron Banks stat would be a lot different.
Yeah.
All right.
Brock made his guys some money.
In my opinion, of all the players the Niners lost here, there's really only two that I'm sad about. Number one is Dre.
I've got two as well, but go. Yep.
We'll get to the second one. We'll see if they're the same or not. Like Dre, it breaks my heart seeing him leave. He is the heart and the violence of the defense. I'm really gonna miss watching him play. I'm gonna be rooting for him in Denver, along with Hufanga. I hope they both do well there. I like Hufanga too. But to answer your question, Stephen, would I pay 3 years, 35 to Dre? No, not with his injury history.
Yeah, so Dre's the one that hits closest to home, and I know I'll let Chasen finish it because I know he feels the same way. What's funny is I don't even mind like the annual amount so much. I don't like the 3 years and like that level of commitment. I know it's not all guaranteed and they could just get out of it, but like if you could have structured that where it's like a 2-year, $22 million contract, I'm probably still in. But 3 years, 35 just feels a little too rich. But I love Dre. I wish you saw on the team. That's the closest yes for me, I think, on this list. But we'll go through it in terms of what I pay it. But I don't really like that number for him either. And I am so glad that he got it. I wish he could have even gotten more because I'm gonna root for him no matter where he's at. I want him to kick butt and lose to the Niners.
So is that a yes or a maybe, or you said no?
It's a no. It's a no on that contract. Okay. I would not want to give Dre 3 years, $35 million. Unfortunately, as much as it pains me to say it, I would not want the Niners to do that.
Okay, it'll be a yes for me. There's going to be 2 yeses on this list, so it'll be interesting. I bet you we all have the same second. Is kind of what I'm guessing, but I'm going to say yes for Dre. He's had now over a year to recover. Fingers crossed he can have a full off season. That's not a guarantee with his injury history, but the way I look at it, he's 27 years old. He still definitely has 3 more years of football. He took a full year off. I thought he would get more than that. I would definitely give him that contract.
Yeah, I think Nick Bolton got 3 years, 45.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
think
In
Dre's
fact,
like
that's the same.
The 10th highest middle linebacker. I think I could be wrong on that.
But Nick doesn't have the same injury history. I mean, for Dre, like we of course think about the Super Bowl. That's the one that stands out the most. But he's had other injuries throughout his career. It's like it's more of a pattern with him. And even the fact that when he tried to come back last year, which they gave him like extra time to get right and get healthy, and it was supposed to be just like a ramp up, see what you can do, show the rest of the league what you got, and he couldn't even do that, and I just feel like there's some major red flags.
Yeah, I mean, he plays with the bionic arms because he's obviously dealing with elbow issues. So, and I think he had a shoulder injury at one point. All right, gonna miss you, Dre. Gonna root for you. His former teammate and still current teammate, Talanoa Hufanga, also got swooped by the Broncos. 3 years, $45 million. Again, to me goes in the category of Aaron Banks, like severe overpay. And I really like Hufanga. But my goodness, he hasn't been the starting safety for the Niners for 3 years. He's barely been on the field the last 2 years. And I was listening to someone talk about Dre and Hufanga going to the Broncos, kind of telling Broncos fans like what to expect. And they were saying like, you got two hitters, 2 guys that are going to bring the violence. And I thought,
got one,
definitely one. But Hufanga, the guy who dives at ankles, like he looks like Polamalu. He is not Polamalu. Hufanga is excellent. He's got ball skills. He can find the ball. He can pick up a fumble. He can pick up a blocked punt. He can intercept the tipped ball. Like that's where Hufanga's good. He's not, and he's a good blitzer. But I still remember him against the Cowboys in one game. Blitzed, got to Dak Prescott before Dak even hit the bottom of his drop and just fell off of him. And Dak scrambled and threw the ball. I'm like, dude, I think he's kind of a weak tackler, to be honest. So
Yeah.
Whatever. Kind of a big time overpay, in my opinion.
That's another one. Oh, sorry, Steven.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
That's another one where I feel like fans are going to look at it and be like, he's how old? Oh my gosh, he's in his prime and he's an all pro. Like, oh my gosh, like we hit the lottery, and they just have no clue. Severe overpay, arguably a bigger overpay than Aaron Banks almost. But yeah, in that same category.
You might be right, because at least Banks is going to be on the field and playing, and he's like a serviceable player.
Yeah.
Well, and I also think guard is probably, a
little more valuable.
Strong
safety.
than safety.
Yeah.
I just think that Hufanga, as much as because I like him too, and I am happy for him. Broncos, great job. You were paying some of the guys that I
a lot of Niners
about, and so it's like the best of both worlds. They get paid, they get their money, and it doesn't have to come out of the Niners, war chest. So
go win your division, Broncos.
Yeah, good luck. But
Yeah,
I agree with you about him not really being that big of a tackler. I think it's just because he's very instinctual, and he comes in like a missile. But I don't know that he really delivers the blow like a missile. So I mean, you talk about the ball skills, he's got good instincts, he's a good player, and I really liked him. But he also has pretty noticeable limitations that Broncos fans are going to find out about as they go through. There's going to be some really good, and I hope there's plenty of good, except for when they play the Niners. But
remember, even in his All-Pro year, like the first half of the season, it was his second year. It was like, dude, this guy is so freaking good.
Yep.
And then by the end of the year, like the second half of the season, is like, is Hufanga even on the field? He just didn't notice him anymore.
His reputation, I feel like, lives off of the first 10 weeks of that season.
Yeah.
The blocked punt return in the Packer game, and just the right place, right time plays that he's made. Like, because it's been big, noticeable plays. Like, I always think about the interception return against the Rams, So he's had enough moments where it feels like he's better than he really is. And he's good.
Yeah.
I don't mean to make that sound like he's some scrub that just gets lucky every now and then. He is a good player. He is not a great player. And they are paying him like he is a great safety.
And he's injury prone. We didn't even mention that.
Yeah, I mean, he's barely been on the field for 2 straight seasons.
So
a serious injury.
My answer is also no, in case it wasn't clear. No, I'm not. I don't want the Niners to pay that contract.
Would you pay Elijah Mitchell 1 year, $3.5 million to stay with the Niners?
So, my answer is no on this one, but only because the Niners are so set at running back. I wouldn't mind giving Elijah Mitchell $3.5 million if you were going to be using him. He's not going to see the field, so why would you waste that money? But like, if they only had McCaffrey and then just like Patrick Taylor, then I would be like, okay. I mean,
sure.
that feels a little rich, but I wouldn't be upset because I probably like Elijah more than you two do, but I wouldn't do it in their current situation. So no.
It's an easy no for me. Yeah. 3.5 is too much, too injury prone, or too stacked at running back.
I'm going to laugh when he has like 150 carries next year and 700 yards and 5 touchdowns. He just has a good year.
I hope he does.
But
he could do it.
He could.
He had no tread on the tires this season. Didn't play a single snap, so
he's fresh.
I don't even really remember exactly what happened. I feel like he had a hamstring injury and had surgery on a hamstring. So did he tear it? I don't know.
I don't remember what part of the body hurt, but I think didn't he get shut down like in training camp?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say I'm rooting for you, Elijah, but you went to the wrong team. Sorry.
Yeah.
Speaking of the wrong team, the Chiefs got their left tackle, apparently. They liked what they saw to Jalen Moore, 2 years, $30 million. Wow. Again, severe overpay. I wanted the Niners to bring him back to be a backup.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they could get him for like 1 year, $5 million or something like that, but whoa. I mean, the Chiefs saw enough to just say, yeah, he can protect the best quarterback in the sport's blindside. Okay, good luck.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's cool to see our former players get paid so much. This one doesn't make any sense. Completely shocked. Didn't think he'd make more than like 5 million a year. Didn't know if like other teams even knew enough about him to like want to bring him in. I thought the Niners could get him on a bargain. So I was just completely blindsided by it.
I actually think that he has more upside than anybody else on this list. Like I think that he could, because in his limited showings he's done really well, I feel like. So I think the Chiefs are paying for that potential. I would not give him this contract to pay for that potential based on what we saw, but I can understand what they're looking at. But I agree that it feels like an overpay.
Yeah. Speaking of overpay, another one. The second player that I'm sad to see go, Mooney Man Ward, became one of my favorite 49ers in his time. I think if we did a deep dive on all the free agents that Kyle and John have signed, especially the bigger names, bigger contracts, Mooney's easily the best one, unless I'm forgetting an obvious one, but to me, it's got to be Mooney. And especially with all the stuff that he dealt with last year within his family, I'm super stoked to see him get a deal worth up to $20 million per season. I'm sad to see him go, but we all knew he was not coming back. So thanks for everything, Mooney.
Yeah, I agree. Same sentiment. Love Mooney. Wish him the best. Yeah, one of our better free agent signings, if not our best one. It kind of goes to show like you can pay big money and it can work out. The player can even outperform his contract. So
yeah, it's pretty rare that a big money, big time free agent comes in and outperforms their contract. And you could argue he did that.
Yeah, he played really well. Would have loved to have him, but it's too expensive. It's his third contract. So this was one I wouldn't pay the contract, but I'm sad to see him go.
Yeah, so this is my second guy too, Ryan. Like when we talked about it earlier, if we're gonna have the same second guy, this is honestly, I just talked about how Moore might have the most upside on the list. I think Mooney is the best player on the list in terms of like what impact they can make at their position. Greenlaw's not far behind if he's healthy, but I think Mooney is like the most blue chip player that's walking out the door, and it's an overpay. It's for sure an overpay. As much as I like him, I wouldn't pay him 20 million a year, especially knowing the other corners that we have that I think are very promising. Mm-hmm. What I'll say about the whole contract thing, yeah, he was the big money signer, like signee or whatever, 3 years ago, whenever they brought him in. And I know that it was a, good contract at the time, but I don't think it was like the biggest. Like, it's not like he reset the market. And I feel like there was even a corner or two in that free agent class that got paid more than him. Because going into it, I think he was viewed as one of the good ones, but not the good one. And I feel like that's part of how you can have somebody that does overperform their contract, because it is second contract, but he's not at the very top yet, right? So he's not gonna drive, the price up like some of the other guys would. But anyways, gonna miss him. Wish he was still a Niner, but not at that price.
Yeah, I remember that free agency cycle. I don't remember who the corners were, but I knew the Niners needed a corner, and I remember kind of looking into one or two and hoping they would get one of these guys, whoever they were, I don't remember. And they announced the deal for Charvarius Ward, and I'm like, who the heck is that? I don't even know who that is. And these other guys signed for close to 20 or in the low 20s, and they got him for 14.5 per season. I was like, okay. I don't know. He's coming from the Chiefs. They're a Super Bowl champion, so sure. And he ended up being excellent and easily like top 3 for me interviews on the team.
Oh yeah.
Because he was so honest, and I loved his accent. I'm gonna miss him. I'm gonna miss his interviews.
Yeah, he's one of the most authentic people. Like you could just feel him being. He was real. He was honest. He was himself at all times. And he called. Who did he call? What is? I can't even think of his name, but you know who called him a sucker or something. Or that's some sucker
Campbell?
shit.
Yeah.
So that's some sucker shit. Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Who will always be a legend for that. Backup quarterback QB 2/3 Josh Dobbs signs with the Patriots. 2 years, $8 million. Would you pay it? No.
I don't know.
I would pay this one. I if the Niners sign Josh Dobbs, they're like, hey, we saw enough. We thought he was good. 2 years, $8 million for a veteran backup that we know can come in and be serviceable. I would pay it. I don't particularly like Josh Dobbs, so I'm not sad to see him go. But if the question is, would I pay it? It's like the opposite of Mooney. You know, don't really like him, but I would pay it.
What about you, Jason?
I don't know. I'm a maybe. I guess it depends what they do at backup quarterback. Like if they gave Jameis like a bigger contract, which I think he could potentially get one because he's one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. I feel like I would maybe rather go Dobbs and go the cheaper route. So it just depends on what we end up doing. But I got convinced. I'm going to lean yes, I would pay it.
I'll stick with no. Dobbs can't win, even if he comes in and throws some nice balls and runs around a little bit. Doesn't actually win any of the games that he plays in. So Jameis could win a game or two. And Jameis, if a team who wants to stay competitive next season has a quarterback suffer a season-ending injury, who knows? Maybe the Niners could flip Jameis. So he just has more value and he's a better player. But Jameis, I saw someone mention Jameis, if the Niners signed him, he would be the first player the Niners have brought in the Shanahan-Lynch era that has like a sketchy past as far as like sexual harassment and sexual misconduct issues. So I don't know.
Did what's his face, that linebacker, did he have a past or it just hit him once he got to the Niners? Huh?
You talking about
Reuben Foster?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. He had a sketchy college history, but I think after they drafted him and that went south, they were like, okay, no more of these questionable character types. He was like the hard lesson, which is interesting because Demarcus Robinson down here has got a DUI he's dealing with right now. He might get suspended. So, now I have not seen Javon Hargrave's contract.
I'll look it up.
I don't know if Jason, you want to try and look that up, but if he could sign with the Niners for 1 year, $5 million, which of course he would not, then sure, I'll bring Javon Hargrave back. Why not? Be a rotational pass rusher, but I'm assuming he got way more than that. So, you know, that as far as Mooney Ward being the best free agency signing, Hargrave had to have been the worst.
Steven, you go first because I'm looking up the contract.
What's funny is, and I don't even think Hargrave was that bad. It's just there's no way he could live up to that contract. Like,
yeah,
that's what put it over the top. Like he had moments where he looked pretty good, but he wasn't worth that. He was too old to pay that kind of money to, and obviously the injury doesn't help anything because then you just basically lost a year, and he can't help that. I know it's not his fault. I'm just saying the way that it worked out. Yes, it's got to be one of the worst, if not the worst, in the Lynch-Shanahan era. I don't know what his contract is, but I'm with you that it would have to be pretty darn low for me to be like, yeah, run it back.
Yeah.
Just based on where they're at.
For whatever reason, I just like can't find his contract, and I've like skimmed through like
it might be terms not disclosed, which might tell you something that he's not proud of it. He doesn't want it out there.
It'll come out eventually.
He could. Well, they gave a ton of money. He went to the Vikings. They gave a bunch of money to what's his face from the Commanders, Jonathan Allen, I think his name is.
They're gonna look great sitting on the sidelines together when they're both injured.
Oh yeah. I was telling Steven before you got on, Jason, the Vikings I feel like they're making the same mistake the Niners did with Hargrave, where they're giving a 30-year-old defensive tackle a 20 million per year contract, which is just a mistake.
Yeah.
And they brought in, which is funny because they also brought in Hargrave, so now they get to play with each other for as long as that lasts.
Yeah, they're going all in. They're spending lots of money. They got the opposite of the Niners problem right now.
Can we save Juice for last? Can you skip to Leonard Floyd?
I was going to, yeah. I haven't seen Leonard's contract. I don't even know if it really matters, but he got cut. He's going to the Falcons. I thought they would cut Leonard and keep Gross Matos, or cut Gross Matos and keep Leonard, one of the two. Gross Matos is the younger player. I looked up a couple stats for Floyd last year because I know Chasen was a little upset that he got cut earlier, but
yes,
on PFF had him ranked 157 out of 211 versus the run, and 161 out of 211 as a pass rusher. And I remember plenty of games last year texting with you guys in our group chat like, where is Leonard Floyd? Weeks would go by. Where is Leonard Floyd? Is he hurt this week? Is he not playing? No, he started 17 games for the Niners. He's a guy at this point in his career, he just like spams the quarterback, just over and over and over, and he fails over and over and over and over. But eventually, Nick Bosa or someone, whatever team he plays with, someone will win, move the quarterback, and he'll grab a shoelace and they'll go down, and he'll get his 8 to 10 sacks a season. Mm-hmm. He does not actually, when he gets his sacks, it's not because he beats the tackle and gets to the quarterback. It's because the play got messed up. There's good coverage downfield. The quarterback is scrambling, and he's just in the right place at the right time. I don't think he's actually a very good pass rusher or an edge player at this point in his career, and I think those PFF numbers kind of show that.
Well, I didn't know the PFF stats, but this was my guy. I am not happy about the move. I don't think I'd pay him his new contract. I would have liked to keep him for one more year at $8 million. I would have been fine with that as a rotational piece if they brought in a Joey Bosa.
Are paying Joey Bosa.
No, Niners had him at $8 million. He got a pay raise. He got a 1 year, $10 million contract from the Falcons, which obviously is outside of our.
I thought the Niners signed him to a 2 year, $20 million deal. I thought he was getting $10 million per, or did he get?
They might have given him 12 last year and 8 this year or something.
Yeah, I'm reading right here. He was due 8, and now he's making 10 on the Falcons.
Hey, get a pay raise. Go for it, Leonard.
So he did. I feel like it's weird to say, but I feel pretty neutral about Leonard Floyd. Like, I liked him. I liked the signing last year. It's like, okay, a veteran guy opposite Nick Bosa. But I agree with you, Ryan, that it felt like he was anonymous for like the first at least half of the season. I was like, where's Leonard Floyd? And then he started showing up a little bit, but then there would be other games where he seemed invisible again. And I was really surprised to see that he got 8.5 sacks because it didn't feel like he had an 8.5 sack impact on the team. But he seemed like a good dude and obviously knows the game and whatever. So seemed like one of those rotational pieces that, yeah, you can trust him out there. He might not be a difference maker or whatever anymore, but he's hopefully not going to screw things up for you either, right? But I didn't know those PFF numbers, and just you kind of saying that is like, yeah, this is a guy that's prime for being cut because he's too costly for the production that he's given you.
Yeah, and Gross Matos is like 6 or 7 years younger, and I think he's got a little more potential, so I hope they hang on to him.
Sure they will, knowing that they let Leonard go and missed out on Joey.
And they do need to have players on the roster to field the team, too. So
that's last I heard, that was still a requirement.
The limit is 53 men, but I guess technically you can go in with less if you want to.
Well, they're just trying to cut it to 46, game day size. They don't want to have to make any tough decisions about who's going to be inactive. We'll just keep it at 46.
Jed is so poor. He's like, I'm not paying 53 guys. Not for 6 wins.
All right, guys, we're playing both ways. Be ready.
Yeah, go get me Travis Hunter. I need to pay one guy for multiple positions.
2 players, 1 position, yeah. Or two positions, 1 player.
All right. Last but not least, Kyle Juszczyk. 9 years with the Niners.
8.
8 years with the Niners. I think a Pro Bowl in every season except no. He made the Pro Bowl this past season, so Pro Bowl in every season. I feel like randomly a couple years ago they started adding fullbacks to the All Pro list, which I don't feel like that was a thing for a while, but he got an All Pro, one or two. So, Kyle Juszczyk seems like a good guy, smart guy, good player for a while, but severely overpaid for what he does, in my opinion. I think it was absolutely time to move on. And I think the main reason why it's time to move on is because the Niners were the worst team in the league last year when it came to short yardage running situations, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 goal line. And you can't have a $4 or $5 million fullback who's, a Pro Bowler and All Pro or whatever, and be the worst short yardage running team in the league. It's unacceptable in my opinion. He's either blocking poorly, and when you give him the ball, he can't run. So what would you say you do here, Juice?
He brings a great attitude every day.
I'm not paying $4.5 million for a good attitude.
And his wife makes really cool jackets.
She better keep making them because that's going to be their source of income for pretty soon.
That's the thing about Juice is I don't even know who's going to be interested in him.
Well, my guess would be Miami because I think him and Mike McDaniel have a little love affair.
Could be. This one seems like an easy, yes, this is what they should have done. Unfortunately, it obviously hurts because of the sentimental aspect of it, similar to Dre, just the long-time Niners that were just part of this era, offensively, defensively. Too much to pay a fullback, but in his prime, Juice was more than a fullback. He was playing some tight end. He was, getting involved in different ways. He was versatile, and he was the best fullback. So I'll miss him. Appreciate his time on the Niners, but it was the right move.
So I have really mixed feelings about it because I don't want to criticize Juice because of who he is and what he's meant to the team and all that. But I saw something that last season he lined up at tight end more than at fullback. Like somebody went and looked at his snap count, and he had over 400 snaps and less than 200 of them were at fullback. And he's obviously super smart. They talked for years about the run game goes through him. But Ryan, you kind of made a joke about it. What would you say you do here? His blocking has gotten steadily worse. Whatever I was looking at was showing that his blocking has gotten steadily worse. And I feel like even his athleticism has, declined to a certain degree. And so that's what made him special. And that's why he gets let's be honest, that's why he gets all the Pro Bowl and All Pro votes, because he gets to do things that other fullbacks don't get to do. So it's oh my gosh, this guy's actually out catching passes and he scored a couple touchdowns. Usually, our fullbacks are blockheads that are throwing their body into larger men and maybe get one carry a game if they're lucky, And so it's how do you get excited about that and put that person into the Pro Bowl? Then you have Juice running around doing all this crazy stuff. But I feel like he should be eternally grateful to the Niners. He was getting paid
oh my God, yeah,
high-level running back money as a fullback. And I remember the Niners saying stuff like, oh, he's a weapon. We're not just limiting him to fullback.
OW.
Yep, OW, offensive weapon. Yep. He was Debo before there was Debo, playing multiple positions, right? But anyways, so I feel like, I hope that there's not any bitterness or whatever, because I'm sure he wanted to finish his career a Niner. I got to think that he, was very happy being where he was, getting to be a team leader, because just being honest, looking at production, looking at what he offers, the only reason he was in that position of being regarded is because of who he is and how long he's been there. So it's a really tough decision to make. Sad to see him go. Wish that he was still the Juice of 5 years ago and that he was still on the team. But that juice is gone, and now he's gone.
Yeah, it's funny. The juice is gone. Yeah, he really doesn't have any juice. It was kind of fun once in a while when he would get out on the wheel route, kind of leak out and catch those deep passes. Those plays alone is probably what you're talking about. Those are what got him the all those Pro Bowls. Like, whoa, that guy just got a pass 25 yards downfield. And he did have great hands.
For sure.
He did.
Probably
remember
still
when
does
he
have
trucked?
great hands.
Yeah.
Remember when he trucked Minka Fitzpatrick?
That was probably the best play of his career.
Yeah.
Yeah, he stiff armed him and like trucked him, destroyed him. It was really, really cool play.
Now, what would you guys think if the Niners brought him back like on a 1-year minimum thing? Would you even want that, or would you be like, guys, we already moved on. Don't make it harder. Don't bring him back.
I know. So I want them to move on from Juice and from Debo because I want Kyle's offense to evolve and change. And I think, in fact, the next guy we're going to talk about, Luke Farrell, to me, that's kind of a sign of the change, is because, in fact, we can just start talking about him a little bit. From what I understand about this guy is he's a blocking specialist. He's a really good blocker. I think I saw someone said he was a PFF grade had him as like the second best pass blocking tight end in the NFL
behind George
So
Kittle.
maybe. So I'm wondering, like, are the Niners going to run more 2 tight end sets and less two back sets? And that's why Juice is gone and they're bringing in Farrell. And if Farrell's a great pass blocker, does that mean that those plays where Kittle is in pass blocking, now this guy's doing it and Kittle can go run routes and be the receiving weapon that they need? So I think cutting Juice, moving on from Debo and signing this guy Luke Farrell, that might be a sign that the offense is evolving a bit.
Yeah, it seems like it is evolving. If we're grading this, I don't like the signing. I think it's an overpay. I think that I would rather them draft a young guy and develop him, because if we're going to go all in on cost savings and rebuilding and everything, then why are we paying so much for a tight end too, when George is probably going to get an extension this offseason? Although with this new ruthless Niners, you never know. I don't think anything's a certainty, but
they're probably going to ask him to take a pay cut.
Probably. So I don't like the signing, but I do agree what it like indicates.
You said something I was going to respond to. I do think the Niners are going to draft a tight end. I don't think this signing is going to stop them from drafting a young tight end. There's too many good ones. I think they're going to draft at least one. And I think I would agree with you that this is probably an overpay. Charlie Warner got signed away from the Niners to the Falcons a couple years ago. He was their blocking specialist. And I think he got a 3-year, $12 million deal for $4 million a season. And I remember thinking, Atlanta, what are you doing? Like, that's an overpay. And this guy feels like he's essentially the same player, and they're paying even more.
Yeah,
I know the cap goes up, so salaries go up, but it still feels like an overpay.
I don't know enough about him to judge whether or not he's an overpay.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
I feel like if he's going to be a big part of their scheme shift and he makes it work, he might not have the numbers that make you think that. But if he's what this contract suggests they think he can be, then it's not an overpay, but he's got to go prove it.
So I wrote the max numbers for all these contracts down. I didn't write any of the guarantees down, which is the more important number.
Yeah.
I do remember his off the top of my head was $11.5 million. So this is more likely a 2-year, $11.5 million deal than a 3-year, $20. He's probably not going to see that third year. And next season, when McCaffrey and Mason are ripping off 10, 15, 20-yard runs, and we see the back of this guy's jersey turning some D-end inside or something, we'll know that this guy was a good signing. Safety Ricky Grant from the Falcons, linebacker Luke Gifford, and safety Jason Pinnock. Honestly, these 3 guys I don't know anything about. I know Ricky Grant and Luke Gifford are special teams guys. Maybe Grant will compete with Jair Brown for a safety spot. If that's the case, I mean, Jair Brown better win that competition, or his career might just be nothing. I'm hoping Saleh can get him back on track. And then Demarcus Robinson, obviously, we know he's a wide receiver, has been around for a while. And with Ayuk hurt, they need some help there. So what are your guys' kind of overall thoughts on any of these guys?
Well, I'm always happy to see them invest in special teams because we suck at it. We got a new special teams coordinator. I'm sure he wants to bring in a few guys. I think one of them used to play for him at some point. I thought I saw that on Twitter that maybe it was his guy or whatever. Like Luke Gifford, I think at one point played with our special teams coordinator. So I'm cool with it. I'm cool with investing in the special teams. And then Jason Pinnock, I'm probably heavily coping here or reaching, but I saw something that like, I think he was a former second round pick. He's still young. And like,
I think that was Ricky Grant.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Ricky Grant was a second round pick.
All right. Well, one of these safeties was on the Jets, and Saleh like really liked him. And I guess like when they had to cut him because they didn't have enough space for him on the roster, Saleh was just like seeming like upset basically at his press conference. He's like, yeah, like really want to bring him back. He has a lot of talent. And then he got signed away and started for the New York Giants. So obviously I don't know enough about him to even know which player I'm talking about, but one of those safeties apparently is one of Saleh's boys and is pretty young and was a second round pick.
That would be Pinnock. He was a fifth round pick in 2021. And then it looks like, did he only play 1 year? Oh, and then he was waived in 2022 and signed with the Jets.
And then I thought he went to the Giants after the Jets, though.
Oh, I'm sorry. He went to the Giants. He was drafted by the Jets in the 5th round, waived a year later, and went to the Giants for 3 years, and then hit free agency. Now he's a Niner. Yeah. And then Ricky Grant, I know he was a second round pick for the Falcons and played a couple years for them, but obviously didn't play well enough because they went and signed Jesse Bates, who sent Ricky Grant to the bench.
The bench.
Well, a 1 year, $1.5 million contract suggests you haven't played very well. So,
yeah, these are special teams players. Even Demarcus Robinson will probably play a little special teams.
And again, I wouldn't mind making $1.5 million for being mediocre or below average in my job. So.
Jed, I will run down the field and try to make tackles on kickoffs for $1.4 million if you want to save some cash.
You're not young enough. Sorry.
That's true.
And I'm not healthy enough either.
Jason's even scratching the edge of being too old.
I'm Joey Bosa's age. They don't want me. They're going to offer me a low ball contract.
He's going to have a limit for Jason.
I'm signing with the Bills. I'm going to go freeze my butt off and go win a Super Bowl.
Shit, yeah. I'm juice checks age. I'm cut too. All right. Niners that have been re-signed: Patrick Taylor Jr. 1 year, Kevin Givens 1 year, Jordan Mason second round tender. I really hope, and Curtis Robinson 1 year. So I like the Mason and the Robinson. I thought Robinson looked pretty good in the preseason last year. Like he was the best linebacker on the field because obviously Fred and Dre were not playing, and then he ripped his ACL. So that sucks. If he's healthy, he could be Fred's playing partner next year. He could be that weak side backer. So we'll see. Hopefully he's doing okay. And Jordan Mason, I really hope, McCaffrey healthy or not, I really hope Mason is involved 5, 8, 10 carries a game. And we don't need to run McCaffrey into the dirt and send him to an early retirement. Get Mason the ball.
Yeah. I want to comment on Demarcus Robinson really quick. I don't know if we skipped over him, but super quick, I don't like the signing. I don't really understand it. I think he's older, going to get suspended. Like 5 years is too much. It's like if we're going to be cutting and trying to save money, then I'd rather like go all in on that if that's what we're trying to do, and draft a young guy or give those snaps to Pearsall or whatever. So I don't like the Demarcus Robinson. As far as the retained 49ers, I like Givens, I like Mason, and I think I like Curtis Robinson, and I don't even have an opinion really on Patrick Taylor. What do you think, Steven?
Well, as president and secretary of the Kevin Givens fan club, I'm very happy that he's back. I just think he's solid. I just
He's
like
the
him.
ultimate tryhard.
Yeah, exactly. I love the effort, and I just think he's one of those dudes that it's good to have around, you know. So, and I think he's more of a plus than a minus when he's out there, which, you know, you need to have those rotational pieces. I don't feel like I see him screwing up and letting up big plays or whatever. He does his job. So
For
anyway,
his price tag, he's an excellent player to have on the team.
I am very happy to have Kevin Givens back. Patrick Taylor, whatever. I mean, I'm glad he didn't cost much.
He had a 100-yard game last year.
Sure. I mean, that
Hopefully he never sees the field though, right? Because Mason and CMC and those guys are healthy.
Well, you were talking about even Mason. I think I don't even think Mason's gonna be the second guy. I think it's gonna be Garindo. I think that Mason's gonna have to.
They're paying him $5.5 million.
Well, maybe we'll see. I don't know. I just get the vibe that like maybe that's going to be the evolution. You were talking about, you know, not having two backs. Maybe it's going to be two running backs and not a fullback, and that's why you have another tight end. I have no idea what they're going to do, but I feel like I like Mason. I'm happy to have him still be a Niner, and he's earned the right to get a little bit of money. I know it's not like it's a big contract, but I'm glad that he's getting paid something, you know, Mr. Undrafted Free Agent and everything. You're right, paying him that kind of money suggests he's going to be out there, but man,
I know. We've seen it.
I don't know. They've got to use him then but I thought, honestly, I thought that their hopes were for Garindo. Maybe he's somebody that they're gonna hope has some trade value. I don't know.
Who, Mason?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not getting the second round pick for the second round tender they put on him. They're not getting that. But if they like Abanikanda, he shows something in preseason or training camp. If they like Patrick Taylor, maybe they draft a rookie, and a team before week 7 has a running back go down. Maybe they're desperate and they send the Niners a 3rd or 4th round pick for Mason.
I think it'd be more likely at the end of training camp when teams are putting their rosters together and some teams realize, crap, we don't have a running back. And the Niners say, hey, we got 3 guys over here that could start. So come get them.
Yeah, the Cowboys signed Javonte Williams from the Broncos. I'm not really sure what to think of Javonte. He's still really young, but he's been really bad since he's come back from his knee injury. I expect the Cowboys will draft a guy, but if Javonte's not playing well and the rookie's not ready, maybe they would come calling for Mason.
Jordan Mason feels like a running back that Jim Harbaugh would like. When I saw,
they just got
when I
Najee.
saw that they signed Najee Harris, I was like, that is perfect. That is exactly like the type of player that I think he wants.
Yeah, just someone who you could just hammer the defense, run right up the middle. So that's all we got for Niners free agents. Is there any? Do you guys want to talk about either like trying to figure out what exactly is the 49ers strategy? Are they telling us that they want to compete but they're rebuilding, or is it a soft rebuild, a full rebuild? I mean, what exactly do you think the Niners want to compete next year? What do you kind of make of the moves or the lack thereof?
I want to hear Chasen's rant. That's what I came on tonight for. I want to just let him go.
Well, it's going to be a very pessimistic outlook, and I hate to...
Tell me what's on your mind.
That's fine. That's why I'm here to counter you. I'm Mr. Optimism.
Well, I'm pissed off. I am pissed the heck off. There's several players that they just let out the door or cut that I don't think they should have. A lot of them I was fine with. So that signals to me like we're going all in, we're rebuilding, we're going young, but we still have like old superstars. So we're throwing these old superstars out there with a bunch of rookies, bunch of like guys off the streets. We're not pursuing any big name free agents or talented free agents or under the radar free agents or guys that might even fit the team and yada yada. So it's like, yeah, are we gonna have enough freaking guys to field a roster? Are we just counting on that we're gonna crush this draft? Because if we don't just crush this draft, we're going to have a bunch of like old guys that want to compete for a Super Bowl and are still really good, and like a middle of the road team that probably doesn't make the playoffs. That's probably like 8 and 9. Are there 17 games in a season still, or did they move it? Okay. So I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. I don't like that they have this new philosophy and they're taking care of their guys and now they're cutthroat, and it's the exact opposite. Yeah, I'm sure Joey Bosa wasn't watching all these moves we're doing and getting lowballed by the Niners. I'm sure he wasn't feeling too warm and cozy about coming and playing with his brother. I'm sure that's why there was reports early on that it was trending towards a contract with the Niners. And then there was a report that the Dolphins had entered the fray, and then the Bills swoop in with bigger money. And it's like, dude, like he clearly wanted to come to the Niners. Like that was his first pick, and they just wouldn't pony up the cash. And it's like, why not? Where are they putting that cash? Like, okay, you want to cut these players, they're older, they're whatever, that's fine. But like, where are you going to reinvest it? A lot of the guys are now gone. So it's like, we're just going to have all this cap space and we're going to not have invested it like in anyone. We're just going to go into the season with a ton of space. And it's just weird. It's like, are we tanking? We still have like old guys that are really darn good still. So I just like don't understand what's going on. I'm sure it's confusing for like the players who are feeling like, oh, am I next? Like I've been taking care of this, that, and the other thing. And I agree, like we should be critical of Kyle and that he has gotten too buddy and maybe helped out his guys get paid and whatever. And like, that's not cool. But I don't think we can swing in the complete other direction and expect it to be fine. I feel like there's got to be some sort of middle ground. You got to find those guys that are worth overpaying and that are worth like maybe coddling like a little bit because they're so freaking good. It's like, if you want to lowball guys all the time, you're just not going to get talent. You just have to find the right guys to overpay for, because other teams are also willing to overpay, and we'll get into a bidding war. And it's like, cool. Like you want to lowball everyone, then you're not going to get anyone. You're going to get a tight end 2. That's going to be your splash, is a tight end 2. And so it's like, I just don't understand the direction. I don't like the new ruthless 49ers. I feel like there has to be a degree of that, and there has to be a degree of like having a family atmosphere and taking care of your guys. Like I feel like there's got to be a balance in there to have a healthy workplace and happy players and players that are going to vouch for their brother to come and join the team. So it's just weird. I worry about even like the culture of the team, like the players seeing this. Like, how do you think Fred feels? Like you guys couldn't give Dre that much to come and like, what are we doing? Why did we make Saleh the highest paid defensive coordinator if we're not going to sign any players, if we're not going to put some talent, add some talent and let them run with it? It's like we crushed it in the coaching department, in my opinion. And then on the roster, it's just a desert right now. So a lot that I haven't liked about this offseason. And the one thing I've loved is the coaches they brought in. And outside of that, I just don't know. I don't know. It makes me very nervous for this upcoming season.
You said a lot in there, and a lot of good points and a lot of good stuff. One thing I want to go back to that you said was that you have to overpay sometimes to get guys to come in.
Yeah.
Or to keep guys. Do you think Joey Bosa is worth overpaying to have on the team?
I guess it depends on your definition of overpaying. Would I give him the contract that he just got? 12.6 with upside to go up to 15. I would. I'm sure you guys might disagree, and that's fine, but I would give it to him. A motivated Joey Bosa coming to town. He wants another contract, so he's going to play his butt off. I would be down with it.
Before you got on, I told Ryan that I would give Joey Bosa $13 million for 1 year, like just knowing, because I only knew the number. Yeah. I didn't know about the incentives. So I I agree that like the number he signed for is a contract that I would have been happy for the Niners to do, but I also understand why they didn't. And when you're looking like I don't know if you're saying you don't like what they did. I don't know if it's because they've let guys go that you didn't want to go, or if they didn't bring in guys that you really wanted them to bring in, or a combination of both. But like when I'm looking at the list of guys that have departed, like, and we did the contract question too, right? Like, if you would you pay that for them? There wasn't a whole lot on there that we said yes to, and I don't feel like any of those guys are like foundational franchise players. Of that whole list, the only one that I think might make a Pro Bowl is Mooney. I don't even think Dre's going to do it. Sorry. I love Dre. I don't think it's going to happen. So, like, if we're talking players that are like, oh my God, gotta have them, difference makers, I don't think they let those guys go. I also think that they did need to maybe overcorrect a little bit for the culture, what you're talking about, because I do think things got a little out of hand. As much as I love Trent Williams and as much as I'm happy that he's still on the Niners, that whole thing was kind of BS last year. And he got away with it because he's Trent Williams. He still had a contract. He still had a couple years, I believe, on the contract. And just because he was upset about not having more guaranteed money. And so, I mean, I feel like that's just a bad look. Like you're talking about what message are you sending? The situation with Debo, the situation with Ayuk, the Bosa thing, like we talked a lot about that. You're sending the message to the league that you're soft. That like, yeah, just delete all your stuff on social media and, you know, hold out long enough and Kyle's going to come in and rescue you or whatever it is, right? And that is not a good message to send. You want these guys to be like motivated, playing for their job. So like I really don't think Joey Bosa looked at the Niners situation and thought, damn, they lost all these guys. Well, I don't want to go there now. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I don't think the NFL players think that way. If anything, I think they'd be like licking their chops like, ooh, man, cut Leonard Floyd. Heck yeah, more time for me, more snaps, you know? I think that the Joey Bosa situation came down to money, like so many other things do. And probably opportunity. If the Bills were like, look, we're going to give you this big contract, and that means we want you on the field a lot, and that means that you can go show the league that you're still Joey Bosa, like the healthy Joey Bosa, that's probably even more enticing to him than the money. And then, like we talked about, the opportunity to get a ring. So, I mean, I get it. I get you being irritated, and I'm frustrated too, like that you want your team to make some of those sexy signings, right? And like, oh man, this gives me optimism. But in general, I don't think it's good team building to try to build the team through free agency. I mean, we talked earlier about how it's rare for the big money guys to live up to their contract, and Mooney was one of those guys. I think it's really rare to have like a team that can say, because of free agency, we now won the Super Bowl. And really, the ones that hit are usually the under the radar guys that haven't proven themselves yet that then jump up or level up. And then they get
like Zach Bond for the Eagles.
Like Zach Bond for the Eagles, exactly. Like nobody cared about or was talking about last year. Eagles signed him to a 1-year deal, and now all of a sudden, you know, he's a big money guy. So I don't really have a problem with the philosophy. I do wonder, what does this mean for like their prospects this year? Like Ryan's question about, are we rebuilding? Are we resetting? What are we doing here, guys? I think that they're trying to do both at the same time. I think that they're trying to keep a competitive enough roster together to make a run, still have the main guys to do it, and plan for the future. And I think that's like the hardest damn thing to do. And somehow the Chiefs were able to pull it off. So good on them. I think it helps when you have Patrick Mahomes. And that's what I think they're trying to do. I don't think they're in rebuild mode. I think they're in reset or reload or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, it looks crappy right now, but don't they have 12 picks coming up? in this
11.
next 11.
11.
Okay, 11 picks. So even if they hit on a quarter of those guys, and they get 4 or 3, whatever, like impact players that can play, that's pretty darn good for a draft to get that. So you're just giving yourself a chance at more lottery tickets, and maybe they'll get more. So I'm not like as angry as you yet, because I don't disagree with the team building philosophy. Like, you don't want to pay Mooney $20 million a year. You want to go find the next Mooney that you can pay a few million a year. Hopefully they can do that. I don't know if they will, and we'll see, what they end up doing in the draft. And they might still sign some guys that we're not even thinking about. Like, oh, damn, that's a pretty good signing. That's a guy that can help. Maybe he's a vet. Maybe he's still a young guy with upside. I don't know. But anyways, so I think you're fine to feel the way you feel, and I do feel like it's, kind of looking a little more down right now, but it's not done yet. And so don't despair too much. And honestly, I don't think there's been this free agent class. Like I told Ryan before he got on, the only missed opportunity I feel like that I wish they would have done is Dahlman, the center. There hasn't been any other player across the league that signed for the money they signed for that I was like, damn, I wish the Niners would have got him for that price. I think Drew Dahlman is literally the only guy that I've seen where I've been like, I would have paid him that, and I would have been happy to have a good center in front of Brock for the next few years. But outside of that, I don't see any franchise guys, from this free agent class that I feel like, now we're set. Now we're putting the Niners over the top. But anyways, that's my view. Go ahead, Ryan. What do you think?
Yeah, so far I have no issue with the guys that the 49ers have let get away. I thought they would be a little more active in replacing some of the guys. Like, maybe they wouldn't get Dre Greenlaw, but they would sign someone a little higher level than Luke Gifford.
Yeah.
I don't know who that player would be. I told you guys I like Jamie Sherwood, but he got a Dre Greenlaw level contract, so he was like kind of out of the question. So I'm just kind of being patient. I think they're just, as I said in the text earlier, I think they're just trimming the fat right now. And over the next week or so, they're probably going to make some more value type signings, and they're going to start to fill out the roster a little more. And we'll just have to wait and see who those players are. But there's really, I don't really have an issue with what they're doing right now. I do think Chasen made a good point though in his text earlier. He said, basically, like, if the Niners are going to be good this year, they're going to have to hit on this draft pick and really rely on a lot of rookies, which is true. And the chances of that happening are kind of slim. So you've got like 5 high-level players, Bosa, Fred, Trent, George, and Brock and Demo or something. So 6 guys. And then the rest of the guys around those guys are like bargain bin, second-year players and rookies. So if you hit on your draft class, the Niners could be lethal. They could be cheap and lethal. But if they don't, you could be looking at a 32nd ranked schedule and you're winning 8-9 games and people are calling for Shanahan's job.
Wouldn't you say that most teams are like that though? That most of the teams that win Super Bowls and do well, they're going far in the playoffs, have a handful at best,
That's what the Chiefs have done. It's like
6,
they've had Kelsey,
yeah,
they've had Patrick, and they've had
Chris Jones,
yeah, kind of blank. And then they've had 1 or 2 interior offensive linemen that are good. And then the rest of their guys are on rookie deals.
But yeah, I think even their good DBs have been guys on rookie deals.
Yeah, they traded the one DB to Tennessee. They didn't pay him. I forget his name, but
they just grow DBs over there.
And Chasen, to answer one of the questions that you asked, I know that it was kind of rhetorical to make a point, but maybe that is exactly why they brought in Robert Saleh and they made him the highest paid defensive coordinator, because they're like, we know that you can get the most out of a lot of guys, so we can get young guys that people never heard of, and you can turn them into the impact players that we need them to be.
Maybe.
Whether or not he's successful at that, I guess we'll see.
Well, if anyone could do it, I think Salah can. It's just, I don't know. We'll see how it turns out, and I'll get all excited and optimistic again when the draft's closer, because I'll think every player the Niner drafts is going to be a Pro Bowler. So I'm sure I'll get optimistic again in the near future. But yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you that right now is a rough time. I'm not trying to minimize that. I'm just trying to preach patience, like Ryan said too, because we've still got a long way to go before we see what the roster actually looks like. But I hear you. I mean, Maddie texted me today because she wasn't, she's not following it like we are, living and dying, right? So she gets to school. I'm sure some of her friends are saying, like, all the guys that are gone. She texted me in all caps, "What is going on with the Niners?"
Sarah did the same thing to me. She like comes upstairs while I'm working. She's like, "The Niners traded Debo? I thought Debo was the man. Like, he was one of my favorite players on my fantasy team." I was like, "Yeah, he used to be the man."
She actually said no in all caps, and then "What is happening to the Niners?" in all caps. And my response was, "Season of change. Tune in to Niner Family Huddle to learn more."
The times they are changing, as I think Bob Dylan once said.
Yep, they're changing.
Yeah, so let's just be patient and see what happens over the next couple of days. Maybe we'll do another one this weekend, or Monday or Tuesday of next week, and we'll talk about all the sweet play. I don't even know if there's players out there that I'm like, hey, the Niners should go get this guy. There's a linebacker / edge rusher from the Giants who's a free agent. He's young. He's like 25. Azeez Ojulari.
Oh yeah,
go get him.
I think Chris Sims likes him.
Yeah, that would be a nice little signing if the Niners got him. That's who the Niners are going to look for. They're going to look for little bargain bin guys who can come in on a 1 or 2 year deal for cheap, and if they're lucky, they'll get some like Pro Bowl caliber production out of them. That's what good teams have to do. They have to find cheap, good production.
I feel like you named off multiple receivers when we were looking at like different position groups, and Darius Slayton was just the one that I, glommed onto, and obviously he got re-signed. But I feel like there's got to be other vet receivers that aren't going to be like, big names that we like. I swear we talked about like 3 or 4 guys that we were like, oh, that would be cool. Oh, that's a good fit too. But anyways, yeah, I feel like there's still guys out there. They're just not the headline grabbers.
Yeah, Demarcus Robinson was not on my
he was
list
not
for sure.
The one name that sticks out to me that might be like splashy or whatever, I don't even know if I should use that word, but actually, did he just get signed? No, he didn't. Dalvin Tomlinson got released. He's older though. He's 31, but he's one of the best run stuffers, and I think he's even pretty good rushing the passer on the interior. He just got released by the Browns. But
had to make some room for that Myles Garrett contract, huh?
I can't believe I was naive enough to believe Myles Garrett that he wanted a trade.
Money talks, man. It can,
$40 million. Wow,
it's crazy. Good for him.
That is crazy.
He's awesome. Good for him. But yeah,
that's unbelievable.
I wouldn't want to pay him that.
Honestly, I'm just glad he's still a Brown, because he's not like an Eagle or a Commander or a Ram or something. Like, we don't have to deal with him. Yeah, he's just gonna rot away in obscurity in Cleveland. Like, go for it, man.
Like Joe Thomas, go have a Hall of Fame career, make the Pro Bowl every year, and sorry for
one less player the Niners have to worry about.
That's a lot of money.
All right.
I think I don't know. I think that there's still going to be, like, isn't Stephon Diggs? I don't think the Niners are going to sign him, but isn't Stephon Diggs available, and like Amari Cooper? Like, there's still names out there. I don't really want the Niners to get either of those guys, for the record. No. I think they're too old and washed up, but there's still guys like that are going to come out of the woodwork that,
Rondale Moore might still be out there. He's kind of a young guy who could take an end around. He could be the next Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
That's the wide receiver for the Rams. He just signed a 1 year. Gosh, they drafted him like the second or third round a couple years ago. He didn't really work out, but they re-signed him for a 1 year, 10-year deal.
Are you talking about the little guy?
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of his name.
I keep wanting to call him Sky Moore, but that's the Chiefs wide receiver.
Yeah, he's a little fella.
He was on the list of guys.
Tutu Atwell.
Tutu Atwell, yeah.
Yeah.
Smaller, fast guy. I thought maybe if the Niners needed deep threat, they could get him, but $10 million for Tutu Atwell? No.
Yeah.
All right. We'll call it there. We'll see what happens over the rest of the week.
Jason, don't start listening to just like all sad music and crying in your room or something, okay?
Well, I didn't wear my Niner jersey on purpose.
I noticed that. All right,
I'm
away.
protesting. Protesting. Right. Yeah, boycotting.
All right.
Come on, Jed. Turn it around.
Yeah.
For Jason.
Bring him back, Jed. Bring him back.
I'll see you guys later.
Bye, guys.
See ya.